Yeah, so you all know Eric is going to be the one doing the recording, so we can actually post it for anybody that can't be here. So yes, if you don't want to be on a recording, then you should probably put your camera off. But yeah, if you have any questions about that, you can always ask me. Um, all right. Yeah. Let's see. All right, let's not hold too long. People can join as they come. I think that's the best way to do it. And as we're recording, then they can always catch whatever they missed later. Welcome everyone. I think I know most of you. Most of you know me. Theo, I'm the head of Gain, and I'm here to present mostly. I'm not going to be doing any talking today besides this to Chris and Eric from Elias. And they're going to be presenting their amazing platforms to all of you. And you can, yeah, I'll let them take over.
Yeah, and maybe you should start, Eric, since I'm going to start with my presentation, so they don't, so you don't linger.
Yes. So I'm the product manager here at Elias. So I work daily with kind of coming up with what we should do and how we should do it together with the tech team. And I'm going to present Elias 4 to you after Christopher has presented our music solution.
Yes. So we're going to start, turn back time a little bit and start with the product we also have for some month more, and that is Elias 3. And who am I? I'm Christopher. I'm a composer. I started this company out of for myself. I wanted my first gig as a composer, we were 3 composers doing this amazing game, and we worked for 2 years. We had a real symphonic orchestra, and it was great. And then the game got canceled, and at that point, I said to my fellow composers, friends, and I said, "Isn't it strange that we do all this music? It sounds great, but it has nothing to do with a game. It's not. It's just cross-fading in orchestral music here and there, and it never sounds linear." And that is when I came up with this idea for Elias. And not going to bore you with the story too much. I'm just going to present what the Elias 3 and why it works as it does. And I'm going to share a screen here. Do you see my screen? Yes. As I said, I started as a composer. I did some composing a couple of years ago for a game called It Takes Two. But between all these years, I worked on this program, this Elias 1, 2, and 3. And why did I think this was needed? I'm going to walk you through it and give a tutorial of this program. We're not going to linger too much on this program since the really exciting stuff is coming later with Eric. And but it's valid to know the background here. And first of all, one important thing for me was I'm a gamer. I'm not a particularly good gamer. If you ask my son, I'm horrible, but that means I tend to die a lot. And as a composer, you all know this, of course. Hearing the same music every time we respawn is kind of really annoying. So the first thing I want to solve was that. So I wanted it to, in this case, if the music sounds like this. The next time it might sound like this. small variations here and there. And that's the first thing that I wanted to solve. And to understand how that works, we have stems here, choir, strings, brass, whatever you like. And these first 4 is audio, and the second 4 in this particular arrangement is MIDI. And here we have something we call in this program, we call it levels. It's going to be called states later. And every state can be opened up. So at the first state here, or first level, it can randomly use audio files. That is, of course, not rocket science, but it's extremely easy to do it. You just throw in things here. The more variation you want to have, the more files. So let's say we start. If we see this as a game scenario, let's say, and Eric, you're gonna laugh now, but let's say I just came up with this. We're gonna climb a mountain. Let's say we're gonna climb this mountain. Our goal is this holy temple at the top of the mountain. So here we just what things work on, and then we go. And all my tracks react different. That's the thing.
Christopher, it's really hard to hear what you're saying behind the music. It cuts out for some reason, like it's noise canceling your microphone or something.
Is there a way around that? Okay, I'm gonna do like that. It's done. I'm gonna talk and then play.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So every track reacts differently, and that is really important to make it sound linear and not crossfaded. So for me, that's kind of the heart of Elias. And if we look here at the choir track, it has a rules. So we call them agility settings. And this one is allowed to change every second bar. So if I tell my music to change on bar 2, for instance, my choir track will say, no, I'm going to change on bar 3. It will still be completely in sync, but it will change the content of the track on bar 3. If we compare that with, let's say, the drum kit, it says anytime. That means, because this is MIDI, we don't have to think about glitches and things like that. It's just going to change. And going back here to the choir track, we also have something we call smart transitions. And that was important for me because my first job as a composer was with the real symphonic orchestra. So I couldn't build a system that had to be sample accurate in time and so on. So the smart transitions is like, if I say it's going to change on bar 5 beat 1, it will get back to me and say, yeah, I'm going to change a little bit earlier because the trumpets are a little bit on time here. So that's a great way of avoiding glitches and things. And I just told you that I hate crossfades, but I still have them here on the choir track because it works on this track to have 2 seconds crossfade. That is normally the highest I will do in Elias. If you compare that to, I don't know, let's say the strings has a little bit, 1 second and 150 milliseconds on one track and so on. And then we come to something we call level selection strategy. And that is, if I go to a level that doesn't have any content, what will that track do? And in this case, it will choose closest below. It could also choose closest above, closest target, least possible change, and exact. If it chooses exact, and I go to level 4, this choir track will be silent. But that's not the way you would use silent, I think. A better way would be to do like this, and then you know it's silent on that track. So that is how the tracks differ from one another. So now I'm going to do, since I have to, I can't talk over the music. So I'm going to do a little journey from 3 to 10 maybe, and then back, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more. What I did there when I went back to 3, I knew that that's going to be a bigger leap. So I used the stinger to cover that, what we call a pickup stinger. So it in this case, it was percussion that did fill in and had a crash when they were supposed to change. So that is a really useful thing. I'm talking about stingers. Of course, you can have stingers for us is one shots, and you can have them just dumb, just you tell them to play and they will play. Or you can have, like I just had, a pickup stinger, or you can use what I really like, and that is a tonal stinger. That means you can use motifs in your music. So let's say if I'm at level 7, for instance, and we're going to be there for a while, and then on our journey up this mountain, we meet a person that has his own motif. Then I'm going to play that. It's going to sound like this. There. And play. So that is how the motifs works in Elias. So you do, I showed you here that I had a lot of versions of a motif, and you could tell when every version works in time. And the important thing is that from within the game, you just say play that motif, and Elias will give you the right one. And if I go back, let's see. I'm gonna do. Let's do. I'm gonna go up to maximum and back, and then I'm gonna talk some more. when we're here at level 6, and we've been up and see this temple, and we go down, and we think everything is fine. But now an enemy appears, and we're going to go to the battle music, and that's going to be a completely different piece of music. But I want the transition to be musical, so we're going to use this tonal stinger feature with a pickup beat attached to it. So it will start a motif in this piece of music and continue in the other piece of music, just so we glue them together. I could do this just here. I could change arrangement and so on, but I could also pre-script it. We have something we call action presets. I'm gonna show that. We're gonna go to battle high. And the way we're going to do that, the first thing we're going to do is change the settings for every track. I'm calling this rendezvous here because in the last one, we actually had that featured hard-coded. But here you can choose settings the way you like. But in this case, I'm telling all my tracks to ignore their individual settings, because it wouldn't sound so good if half of the orchestra plays one piece and half plays the other piece. So everyone is going to change at the same time this time. And it's going to go to objective battle. It's going to go to level 5, jump to bar 1, and I'm going to use a theme transition stinger, and I'm going to affect all tracks with this. I could do more. I could have a pre-wait time, urgent flags, and wait for prior events, and I can do a lot of things. But normally, I never use this for last one. But so if I go back here, and I'm going to play on level 6, and then I'm going to choose that action preset, and we take it from there. Can you hear me if I talk? Stop? Okay. Need to stop then. Also one thing, you see that these have different colors. And in this version, it means that if it's green, it's a one complete file that is, in this case, 32 bars. If it's yellow, this is just a 2-bar loop on and on. If it's blue, we know that there's variations underneath. And one important thing that we can hear maybe here, in this percussion track that is just made up of 16 2-bar loops. That's a good place to show when everything you give Elias, you will first say, well, this piece of music has 132 BPM and these numbers of bars and so on. And then when you export from your DAW, and this you all know that you need to export with a tail to have a good loop. The problem used to be that you have to take that tail and glue it in the beginning of the audio file to make it sound good when it looped, but then you will have a bad start. So you always have to invent the wheel every time and see where it's best to loop and so on. Elias does that for you. So you give Elias, in this case, 2 bars with the tail, and it will use the tail. Also, when it looks like this, when it's a complete file, it will start this file, and when it loops, it will use the tail. But we can just listen to the percussion here. I think in this brass thing, I just yeah, yeah, I have to. Now I'm used to a new system, but of course, have just in this case hits here and there. Let's have a little fight here, and then we could win or die also with an action preset. Yeah, that's like the scratching the surface of Elias 3 and the logic behind it, and how what I thought was really important for music in games, and why we have this feature set for the music. We're gonna later have a longer Q&A, but is there someone that has a question you're wondering right now about the music system?
I have. Oh, yeah. We were raising our hands using the.
You can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering how, like on the developer side, like how I would interact with this. Like, do I adjust levels through an API or?
You will see that on Eric's demo.
Okay.
It's going to be the same for the music system very, very soon. In this case, it's its own API, and it depends on if you're in Unreal or Unity, the workflow within the plugins.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically, you install an Elias plugin to your game engine, and you load the project file, and then you can trigger it in different ways via code, like just sending events, or you can in Unreal you can use blueprints as well.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And also, I used to end like this, but we have changed direction within Elias. But one thing that I thought was a good feature of Elias 3 was that when you're done, you just press this export, and you add your additional files. That could be like a notepad with instructions to the programmer, and then you want to zip it and maybe economize the patches, take away some samples and so on, and then you send it, and then you open it up in the plugin. It's just that we have our biggest feature going forward is not to have exports and imports. So Eric is going to talk about that.
Cool.
Any other question?
Yeah, I'm going to ask this one because it's something that I've been curious about. As you know, I've been testing Elias since the first version. We talked about this before. And I remember when it came out with sample libraries directly inside, and you could just use MIDI.
Yeah.
Is that still a thing? And is it still something that is implemented for the new version? And how is that working?
It works like this. We take that a little bit from the beginning. We were doing a sampler for this system, and we got approached by a company called Orchestral Tools, and they asked us to do their sampler as well, and we did, and it's called Sign. Do we have any Sign users in the group? Yeah, I love it. Of course I do, but it's really good. So it's actually Sign underneath here as well. It's a different front end, of course. And that is a big part, and you could say that the MIDI part of Elias is 50% implemented. With that, I mean, we have a lot of really interesting developments of the MIDI, because I just showed you tonal motifs with audio, and with MIDI in the future of Elias, you can just do one motif, and then Elias will adapt it to a chord track within Elias. You don't have to in this when I just showed you motifs now, I had 8 versions or something like that, but then you will use the intelligence of Elias. Also, I can tell you, you will be the first one to hear that we've developed an AI together with a university in Canada that we call a variation engine that will help with variations if you use MIDI. So we have a lot of plans for the MIDI, but Eric will maybe tell a little bit more when that will appear in Elias 4.
Yes, I don't know yet, but next year. If you stop your screen share, I can actually show you what we're working on with the music, because what I'm gonna talk about is actually the sound engine we're building. But as part 2 of that sound engine, we're of course porting the music system. So I don't know if you can see this.
Yes.
So this is a preview, an early preview. It says alpha here in the corner of the remake of the music system. And MIDI will be part of it. We'll see if it's part of the first release, or if we're gonna release it in like stages. And as Christopher said, we're aiming to have this AI thing, and we're gonna move away from Elias 3 has the concept of like you create a sampler and then you assign tracks to that sampler. In Elias 4, it's more going to be the concept of instrument tracks. Of course, gracefully handled in the backend, but MIDI will definitely be in there. And also just a pointer about the AI stuff. I mean, we're all composers. We're not really interested at this point to create an AI that replaces composers. It's there to help composers. So like, could be like in early stages, just to quickly get more variations, or to remove boring tasks. Like if you have a stinger and you need 100 different variations on it, it's kind of boring to do that. So then it makes sense to use like machine learning and AI to help you with that. But the idea is absolutely not to like replace composers or be the creative engine of something. It's to support composers.
Yes, that's important. Do you want
Cool.
to?
I think Eric has a question as well.
Yeah. Eric?
Yes, you said earlier that you were working with students at the University of Canada somewhere.
Yeah.
By that, I was wondering if you actually do allow to have student internships at Elias this coming year for next year too.
Yeah, probably. In that case, we didn't. They were not interns. It was collaboration with that school, that university. But yes, we can have interns. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you take audio interns who are desperately looking for something?
Maybe. It's up to Eric.
Yeah, you can always send an email. As it looks right now, we're probably not gonna have the possibility to bring anyone more on board this year, but maybe next year. So always send us an email and like what your interests or what your focus point would be, and we can take it from there.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell her to send an email here. Yeah, that was actually my question, because I'm looking for an internship place, and it would be nice to either work there this year to 2023 May or next year if possible.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, great.
So maybe I should talk a bit about the future and the present.
Yeah.
And we can do, as Christopher said, we'll do like we can do an in-depth Q&A at the end. So as I said, my name is Eric, and I'm the product manager here, or actually head of product now. I've been working with interactive audio for, I think, 15 years now. I've been doing a lot of different things, spanning from gaming, like with traditional middleware, to theme parks and interactive film and stuff like that. And I've also been working, I think, 5 years for a big more traditional post-production house as an outsourcing partner to game studios. And what I've always been annoyed with is kind of the same thing as Christopher mentioned, but like you have all this gear. I think all of us, a lot of audio people, like we like gear, we like new plugins, we like shiny stuff. It's for many of us in this like computer era, it's really part of the creative process. Like you get a new plugin and you try it and you come up with crazy stuff. And you get fed like there's always something new to try, something fun. And you have a huge variation of DAWs to use, like maybe you use Logic for music and Reaper for game audio or whatever. But then when it comes to like implementing stuff into a game, it kind of looks the same as it's been doing for, I don't know, like 15 years maybe. Both Wise and Fmod, for example, they're very competent. They can do a lot of stuff, and they are super stable and interesting. But they have been looking the same for a long time now, and they do the same things basically. You get these updates, but it's always like technical updates. We've added object-based mixing. We've added event-based packing, which is nice, but it's not about your creativity, and it's not about your workflow. You kind of still have to like build these banks and export, and if you want to do something creative or weird or really interactive, you need to either be quite good at coding, or you need to have an audio programmer, or you need to like be allowed into the blueprints of a game, which you aren't always if you're on a bigger studio and things like that. So that's kind of the entry point when we decided, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now, we decided that we wanted to try our luck in building the new generation of audio tools. So the the point of attack was like creativity and workflow. So bringing power to audio teams instead of like, especially if you work with indies, like having this weird thing where you have to team up with a graphics programmer to get events in and it never works, and then you want to do something weird and no one can help you. Just simple things like keeping track of state and remapping values and stuff like that, you kind of always have to get some help. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you our system now. So if I just start up, this is just a super ugly little project in Unreal. And this has the Elias plugin loaded, and it has the plugin has loaded a project. So now when I tab over to Elias 4, you can see here that it says that there's a remote connection available, and that means that Unreal is hosting an Elias session already. So I can just click that, and now I'm in the project that is loaded in Unreal. So this is basically the main area of Elias 4, and I'm going to open something that we call a patch. So just like, for example, blueprints, it's node-based, with the difference that this is fully real-time, so you don't really have to save and recompile and restart stuff. You can change everything in real time. And it's also, of course, focused on doing sound. So what you see here is actually a super duper simple footstep system. So if I play this demo, you should hear some footsteps, right? Great. And it has 2 different surfaces, 2 different materials. So you have some metal and you have some concrete. And what is happening is this node graph is playing the footstep sounds. So at the core, we have 2 sound players. one that is playing concrete sounds and one that is playing metal sounds. And to trigger this system, we don't use events in this case because it's a super simple FPS thingy. So what we are doing is that we have something called listener scene location. So this node gets the position of the listener in real time, and the listener is placed on the camera. So when you move, the camera moves and you get a new position. And that position is sent into, let's just ignore this one for now. It's sent into this node, which says when the value has changed more than 230 units, which happens to be a good footstep length, it sends out a pulse. And the pulse is what we call our events, basically. So when the camera has moved a certain distance, it sends out a trigger event, and that event goes to a material checker. So this is kind of the only manual hook we've set up in Unreal. So we have an enum parameter with all our materials loaded, and that one switches. So this one has the state of the material we are working on. And based on what material we are working on, it sends out the correct footstep. So that's basically what is playing the footstep sounds. And then to spiff it up a bit, we have a randomizer that just randomizes the pitch for the footstep sounds. And I've also, as you can see, the Z axis is removed. So and that is so it doesn't play sounds when I jump. So if I walk around like this, it stops playing audio when I jump. So the real-time thing, as you can see, I have my session running here. And if I tab back to Elias and I start changing stuff, let's say I want to raise the pitch a bit, and I want the footsteps to move faster. I can just do that and then move back. And it's updated live. And this is, of course, nice when you're working with audio because you want to iterate. You need to like test stuff. And this goes all the way down to like you can actually add stuff to the system. So say that I wanted to add a jump sound. I can add another sound player and I can trigger that from this. And I need to output it to our output channel. And I need a sound file. Let's just say we use that one. So now, when I go above this value on the Z-axis, it plays the jump sound. And as you heard, it played too many times. So what I can do then is add one of these. Let's see. Control. I can add pulse once, and this is basically a gate because that is also quite common that you get like too many events. So what this will do is that it will only let this signal through one time until we reset it manually. So then I can just connect that, and now it should hopefully, yeah, it just plays once. So it's really, I mean, maybe you didn't follow in each step of what I did here, but the core is that it's really simple and it's really quick. And this is, of course, like a semi-advanced patch. This is a really simple patch. This one plays the gun sound. So this is just just a patch that autoplates when a function is triggered in Unreal, and it just plays like this sound. And for something maybe even a bit more advanced, we have like these, let's see if you can hear them, like the ball bouncing. And to get that sound in, we have, let's see if I can find it in the blueprints as well. For a special projectile, maybe? Yeah. So basically, when you shoot, it spawns as a sphere, and that sphere has an Elias sound component, just a sound player connected to it. And each time the projectile bounces, it updates the velocity. So in Elias, I've created a parameter called velocity. So I get the current velocity of the ball when it bounces, and it also sends an Elias pulse called bounce. And that goes into this little system. So it starts with me getting the ball bounce event, and then it goes into another one of these event gates. And that is because, you know, like a ping pong ball, it bounces, and then it starts bouncing really, 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 really fast at the end, like, and I don't want that. I never want to trigger the sound more often than each 50 milliseconds. So I block the events when they become too many. And I also have this velocity parameter that I get from the game. So if the velocity is lower than a certain amount, I don't play the sound as well. So if it bounces too softly, it don't produce a sound. And I have connected the same velocity parameter to a map range. And a map range is something that takes an input value and transforms that to another value. So for example, the amplitude in the sound player moves, you want it to move between 0 and 1. But the velocity parameter from the ball moves between 0 and 3000. So what I do is that I say when it's 0, it should output 0, but when it's 3000, it should output 0.8. And then I can connect that velocity parameter directly to my amplitude. So depending on how hard it bounces, the volume changes. And I've also used the same velocity parameter in the same way with this map range, but here I've mapped it so it outputs between 1 and 10,000, and I connected that to a filter. So it also dampens the the treble of the sound. So if I just stop that, I can also show you another feature. I just need to move this thing. So in Elias, you also have, you can simulate everything. So I don't need to connect this to a game if I don't want to. I can just hit this button up here called Start Simulation. And now I have this panel here, which is access to all my pulses and all my parameters. So I have this velocity parameter here. And if I set that to 3000, which is the max that the game outputs, and I click the ball bounce, you can hear the ball bouncing hard. And if I change that to 500, it's very, very soft because I changed the amplitude and the filter, low pass filter on the bounce. So basically, I only use like these 6 samples, but with randomizing the pitch slightly, altering the volume, and altering the high pass filter, you get something that is quite okay. I mean, this was done very quickly, but yeah, I think it works. And of course, since the sound object is placed on the ball, it also moves and pans as it should. What more? Yeah, we have something, another smart thing. So this is the gun. Let's say this system was very advanced and you realize that, I have more guns in my game. And they kind of behave in the same way, but I need to alter a few parameters for each gun. Then we have something that we call configurations. So I can, each node, when I select a node, you get this menu up to the right, and you have this little symbol. And what that means is that I can make all these values overridable. So say that I take my randomizer and I make both of those values overridable, and I take my sound player and I make the audio file slot overridable. Then I can just right-click that patch and I can create a new configuration. So now I have a system that is basically a copy of this fire gun patch, but I can alter these values. And what that means is that it's actually not a copy. It's a child of this object. So if I were to add stuff to this patch, that would be inherited into this patch. So if I, for example, create 20 guns, and then I realize, I need to add a reload thingy, that would be added to all my 20 guns instead of me having to go into each and every one of them to update the logic for them. So that saves a lot of time when you have things like guns, cars, footsteps, where you have a lot of variations of the same stuff. And then, of course, we also have a reverb. It's quite ugly and simple at the moment, but it's actually a super duper performant convolution reverb. So this has an impulse file loaded, an audio file, and you can set the IR time. And to use it, you simply, I need to stop, you go into Unreal, and you can spawn one of our 3 object types. And what I would use for this is the ambient zone, and I should make it a bit larger. Why isn't it becoming larger? Let's do it like that, and then I just attach my reverb to it. Where did I put it? There. So now you have some nice reverb to it. And another thing I can show you with these zones are not only reverbs. You can use them to play ambient sounds and stuff like that. You can connect a patch to it and have that play a loop of whatever. But what makes our zones a bit better than all other zones on the market is that we have this nice thing that we call bleed. So what that means is, like, if you say that this would be a house and someone was having a party within that house, if you were standing outside of that house, you would want it to leak out a bit. So then you can just pull this little lever, and then you can actually see the bleed out. So everything that is playing inside here will bleed out. It will start at maximum value inside and then go down to 0 at this border. And in the same way, you can also have bleed in. So if this is a house and there is a snowstorm outside, you want that snowstorm to bleed into the house. So you can do the same thing with that. For some reason, I can't see it now. I think I'll disable it. Oh, there it is. So you can have sounds bleed in. This was kind of the main idea for this, was to use it for ambiances. But then we realized that what we created is actually a custom shapeable sound object, because you can reshape this in any way. You can add vertices to this shape. Let's see if I remember how. Yeah, So you can add these, you can shape it any way you want, of course. Because when you have things like a big body of water, you have a river or something. Currently, like a solution that people use is that you create some kind of spline with an audio object that follows the player, or you have to place all of these traditional round sound objects all the way through the river. But with this, you can just shape this as your body of water, your lake, or your river, and have it play water sounds. And then you can use this bleed out to like attenuate that. So as you get closer to this shape, it will play that sound. So it's actually quite useful for a lot of things. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main concepts. Of course, we have a mixer as well. Sorry. Currently, it's also node-based. So you always start with a master, and then you can create whatever group channels you would like, and you can just connect them to the master, or you can do like this. You can create your small little subgroups or whatever, and you can of course add in filters and compressors and whatnot in this chain as well. And as everything has these dynamic inputs, you can like say that I have a float parameter called something. It's called mute stuff. I can like use these values within the mixer as well, so you can connect game parameters in the mixer as well, and build stuff that like if you can use math and you can use logic, so you can create this like if this boolean is true, turn this bus off or whatever. Yeah, and you got the little preview of the music system, and the aim is of course to move the control of the music into this as well. So we have it's kind of working at the moment, but you can use these actions right now to play music. I haven't prepared anything because we are refining this a lot, but then you can build your own music logic in here as well, and you'll be able to control the music system in full from this, which means that you you create your footprint within the game engine is like drastically smaller, because with all of the ability to like evaluate state and remap values, you can in most cases just move raw data from the game into Elias and then reshape it and build your systems here, instead of having to like have this script layer or blueprint layer that creates a system for you that then feeds like these tidied up events and data in the sound and music system. Instead, you can, if you want to, you can control that yourself. And the perks of that is, of course, that you can work more independently. You can also, with this simulation feature, you can also test your systems. Like you can start building your car engine before there's a car in the game, so you kind of reduce your downtime. And it's also very portable. Behind the scenes, everything created here is basically a JSON file, so you can just copy paste a system into a new project, and you might have to like mend some stuff, but basically it should just work. And that is also an important feature. Everything is hot load, so you can in the file system you don't have to drag everything like into this asset browser. You don't have to like import your footstep sounds. You can just make sure that when you export from your DAW, if you export it into the project folder Elias will pick that up, and they will be available automatically. And what that means is also that you can update stuff. So if you can have the game running, you can be testing the game, and you hear that, ooh, that bird in the ambience was a bit screechy. So you just go over to your DAW and you print a new file, and that's instantly available in the game. You don't have to you don't even have to have this studio software open. It's magical and it's real time, and especially for people using stuff like Reaper, where you can really do like these heavy exports. It's super nice to don't have to do like an extra import stage as well. It saves a lot of time and a lot of creativity. And with that hot load thing and everything is real time, there's of course no export either. So you don't have to build sound banks that you import to the game. So you can just keep on working until everything is perfect and you are happy.
I think Oliver has a question.
Yeah, I think now is a good time for questions. And Christopher, your mic is acting up again. Yes, Oliver.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, do you have any would you be profiling this like in Elias or through like the game engine? Like how do I know like how much memory is in use, how many sounds are currently playing at the same time and all that?
At the moment, you kind of don't, because we haven't added the profiling tools yet. But we're working, when we're building the music system, is what we're focusing on now. We're also expanding like the internal event system, which means that we will get debugging and profiling in as well. And in the first stage, you will have these traditional like lists where you can see all of your active instances and how loud they are playing and what spawned them and what patch they are using. And you will also have the kind of like the API log, so you can see everything that comes in and out. And we'll see where we end up with profiling. Ideally, we want to have those tools in LS4, but we might like start by having part of it on like the game engine side.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have another question.
Yep.
And I'm kind of I kind of didn't see like the relationship between the old music system and this music system. Like, do you still work with music the same way as you did in Elias 3 and then access it through this node system, or do you?
Yeah. So if
okay,
you
okay.
So this is basically the same software that I'm showing here.
Yeah.
So how it will be is that you right click here, or you click your plus button and you say create a new arrangement or create a new stinger. And when you open that, you get to this view. And this is basically, there's a lot of new features under the hood, but it's basically the same concept as LS3. So you have this matrix with states,
right,
where you can put everything.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Does it still sound weird?
Yeah, a little bit.
I would like
But I can answer everything. Smile and wait. So Theo, you had a question as well.
I did, and now he asked about the profile. That was question 1. Question 2 for me is actually about like testing, like on Fmod you have Sandbox, and on Wise, things like that, where you can actually just test multiple things at the same time, make sure they're working. I saw that you have that for the simulation on the main sound that you were working on, but is there a way that you can test multiple of them at the same time?
Yeah, so currently when you simulate one patch at a time, but I just had that exact meeting earlier today. So starting from like in a few weeks, simulation will be application wide. So when you set the application in simulation mode, you can simulate everything, which then also opens up for us to build like a small panel or something where you can send global events and stuff like that to set up more of a test environment.
Awesome.
Because that, of course, becomes immensely important when we have the music system, because we want to test like when I move from this track to this track. So you have to simulate multiple assets at the same time.
Yeah, also to compare for mixing and so forth. So you
Yeah.
make sure everything is properly mixed together. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is also coming soon. I always end up in this also coming soon, but the communication between patches, which mean when you can send information between patches or take a decision in one node system based on what's happening in another node system, you can kind of build your own like HDR mixing systems and stuff like that really easy, and do like really interesting mixing or creative decision based on knowing exactly what is happening within your own application.
Any other questions?
Need more questions?
Yeah, I have one question. It's still broken, right?
Yes.
I do have questions, but I don't want to interrupt other people's possibility to ask questions with my selfish internship questions.
I have like maybe kind of a little bit difficult question.
Yeah.
So have you looked into like the whole meta sound thing in Unreal?
Yeah, it was a happy day for us when they announced they are doing
So
it.
yeah, so like why would I choose this over using meta sound?
There are multiple reasons, I'd say. Of course, it's still this. I think we still have a quicker workflow, and it's also there's for me it makes sense in a lot of cases to have the audio middleware separated, just because it is a separate system and you can't crash the game, and you can work separately, and if you're a big team you can send stuff between studios easily. And then it's also kind of like what approach you like. The Epic team are really into to like generating audio and having that thing going, which is nice, but it doesn't sound that good yet. so I think they are more trying to build like an advanced synthesizer in a way, and you still have to combine it with the chord system if you want to do music stuff and things like that. So yeah, but of course there will be times where it makes a lot of sense to do something in engine. Depends on the complexity and stuff like that. Also having like a full team dedicated to building this application, I think we're more accessible and we're more, how do you say it in English? We can move faster, try stuff, fix stuff. And then also the music system is still, in my mind, unprecedented.
Yeah, no, I completely agree regarding the music side of things. Thanks for answering that. I know it's kind of like always a fun question to be asked, like, hey, why should I choose this over your competitor? Like,
yeah, definitely. And I mean, we have to ask ourselves that question as well, because it's the same with Wise and Fmod.
Of course.
They are still awesome applications, but now there's another option as well. And especially not everyone uses Unreal, of course.
Yeah.
And that is also like, this is really easy to integrate to new game engines. So out of the box, it comes with integration for Unity and Unreal. And it's kind of cool because it's a shame I don't have a Unity project on this computer, but you can, like in real time, you can switch in game engine and have the same Elias project running, which can make sense for a lot of freelancers, like when you want to reuse stuff, or even we have some large, both Swedish and Finnish mobile clients, mobile game studios, that prototype in one engine, and then when they move on, they move it to their own engine. and then they can just connect the same Elias project to their own engine.
So I could, in theory, like connect Elias to like any other software. It doesn't have to be a game engine.
Yeah. And that's also the big difference between like the perk for us being built now, modern technologies and the wonders of open APIs. So in reality, Elias 4 is a bunch of APIs, and you can access everything. And if you're doing a big project, you can also get access to the source code. And I think to get it running in a new engine, or we have connected it to other stuff, I can't talk about it, but other kinds of hardware and software, it's a matter of like hours or days maybe to get it running. And then it depends on how much tooling you want to build around it, but it's really easy. And we also have, it's not open yet, but there's an extension API as well, if you want to build your own plugins, not just like DSP, but plugins that do stuff, other stuff.
What would I write that in? Which language?
Whatever,
Whatever.
basically.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Of course, the engine is at its core, it's C and C++. And I think most people use Python for the intermittent stuff. And Python, as you know, is fun because you can write Python in Reaper. So you could basically build your own Reaper extensions. So you could set it up to play sound directly from a Reaper timeline, if that helps your workflow, basically.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know who was first, Frederick or Eric.
Frederick, you can go first.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with the orchestral tools sign stuff, but if I understand correctly, does that mean that when you use Elias, you have like really cool samples for the MIDI playing real time? Is that how it works? Or
yeah, I can go through. I changed the computer, so probably you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yes, good. Yeah, it's not the exact same what do you call it? You can't use orchestral tool sounds directly, but they made library for us that is called Elias Essential Orchestra, and then we have our own libraries, and we have some other third-party libraries. Yeah, Eric is looking at them now. The first one there, Leonard Eng's church organ. Leonard Eng is my father, and that is the church organ that is in It Takes Two in the last level. So that is a 7-mic recorded church organ.
Yeah, and I can fill in. So, like, you wouldn't really want to load the biggest orchestral tools library into your game live.
Yeah, because that was what I was wondering about the footprint and all that.
Yeah, so you have to make them a bit smaller, but usually that's not a biggie. It's like we have the Elias. Is it the Essential Orchestra that is no?
No, the starter pack.
Yeah, which are you get the starter pack for free, which is a band. So basically, what you can do is that Elias, it's both that you bring down the sample rate a bit, and you don't have 300 mic positions, and it's also that Elias can, correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher, but compress it so it only sends like the audio files you actually play.
Yeah, exactly. And the starter pack is you know, I'm a little bit older than a lot of people here, so I use a sample with my Roland W30, and that was half of meg. So I'm familiar with doing. I'm used to doing really small sounds, but they still sound good. I think you can try them out, and in this we also have some previews of it. We did an insane percussion library. I will never do it again with all these files, but all the others, as I said, the church organ is a lot of mic positions and so on. but you use them. You choose which one you want to use. That's more likely in the game than having all the positions open at the same time.
Yeah,
But it would still be cool to have a lot of mic positions to to color your sounds.
yeah, and also the best usage, or I mean, you can use it however you like, but I like to use it to like basically as a spice. So you have a lot of audio tracks, and then you have 1 or 2 MIDI tracks, because those are super flexible. So you can do like quicker changes and stuff like that. And in the new version, when we get next generation MIDI feature in there, you would be able to like affect MIDI in real time with stuff as well. So then you can just like the game can tell the music to change to a minor key, and you can just transform your MIDI in real time. So,
and one important thing that if you're gonna check this out, right now we have a VST sampler. It's the simplest in the world. And we will never update that, because the way we rather will do is that you play Elias from your DAW. That makes more sense. So you have the same you use the same sounds when you compose as in the games. So that will be the next version. So the way the VST sampler looks now, it's ugly, but it works, and it will not be updated.
and a final note is that it's SFZ format, which is open.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to create your own sample libraries as well.
Yeah.
You just have to have audio files and then edit. I think it's like an XML file, and it's done.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
I think Eric, right?
Yeah. You said you had integration and programming with C++ and Python that you wanted to expand upon with Elias. Do you have any DAWs that are integrated or that you can export easily to Elias?
With Elias 4, it's you can do that with any DAW, because you can just use the file system. So you just export to the correct folder, and it's instantly available within Elias 4. But other stuff that is more interesting would be that you can have, like if you build your own Python scripts in Reaper, you can create custom actions like export these 8 sounds and put them into the audio player of this patch, for example. So you could basically control Elias via Reaper if you would like to do that for some reason.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I would like to add to that. We had plans with Steinberg to do a plugin for Elias 3 many years ago, but the way Cubase got better and better in export, all the ideas went down there, because it made no sense to have a better connection than that. You know, when you could do export stems in regions, delete doubles. When that was possible, then it was hard to find a better connection. But now when we have the audio system, it's a different story. So we are looking into that again. But as Eric says, with the Reaper, at least you can do so much just scripting.
Yeah, because I know also that Soundly has thought about exporting its application sounds to different DAWs or different middlewares. So it would be actually interesting to talk to you guys later and talk about that.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm done.
Cool. Maybe Greg?
I think actually Oliver was first.
I've been speaking so much. Go ahead.
Okay. A newbie question here. I just if I understand this right, your instrument packs, are those meant to replace or supplant like native instrument library or something like that?
Yeah, when we started the sampler thing, the sample work, I thought it would be kind of easy to get the library companies to want to jump on board. But actually, and this is actually true, like 9 out of 10 that I spoke to saw a problem with the licensing, because then they thought that when the game releases, we give away our instruments for free to every gamer, every player. And we had discussions about that, and I tried to convince them that that's not the case. But then they said, well, if it's a VR game and it's a piano in that game and you're playing that piano, you're actually playing our sounds. So it became a licensing issue. And the only company that thought a little bit clearer was Orchestral Tools and Handheld Sounds. And yeah, what's one more that we have. Yeah, I can't remember but the resonator there and the Renex's guitar. So it was more a matter of licensing than possibilities.
Okay, so this would exist in with ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much, okay.
So if you use these libraries, they will be live in the game. They will be played live in the game.
Okay, but you can use these libraries in Pro or any other DAW as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Oliver.
Yeah. Yeah, you briefly touched on it, but I'm still a little bit fuzzy on like what the journey is from like me composing to like hearing the sounds in the game. Because you're saying we can like we're hooking Elias up to our DAW, but also like the VSTs are being played in the game. Like, how do they end up in the game? Are they rendered as audio files eventually, or how does this work?
It's a little bit hard when we talk about the music system, because we are in between music systems. So
Right.
the answer will be different. But the way it is today, if you're gonna do it, you will work in your DAW and complete your music and export it as audio files or MIDI files, and arrange that within Elias 3. And then when you're done, you will export that and you will load that into the plugin you're using. And you will control it from within that game engine. What we're talking about now, since we're just in the middle, is the new system. There are a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. And one thing that I've been struggling with for many years is that I want the way Elias 3 works is it has a main project that is the game project, and then you have a lot of arrangements underneath. And that's very good because they know about each other and they can talk to each other, all the arrangements. But it's a little bit hard when it comes to if you want to update it and so on and things like that. And with Elias 4, every arrangement is its own asset. So that was really important. But I still wanted them to be able to talk to each other. So that is why it has taken some time to convert this, but I think we're going to land in something really, really good. I know that because now we're so close. And then you will probably work a little bit different. Also, you will still compose in your DAW, of course. And what I just said, I don't know when, but at some point you might not load the VST in your DAW. You would rather have, if you know about Rewire, for instance, would be a similar thing to that. So you have Elias running, and you can reach it from within your DAW. But that is a little bit ahead. So you have to stick with this competent, ugly VST version for a while.
I think it looks great already. But yeah, will this then? So when you play stuff from with orchestral tools in Elias, you're hearing the sample libraries in the game engine.
Yeah.
Is that still true? Like when you if you make a build of the game, is it still being played in real time?
Yes.
Doesn't that take up a lot of CPU power versus like rendering something?
You can't have 20 tracks, but then again you might not, as a parallel, that might be heavy even with audio. So it's a super efficient. It's so much lighter than, for instance, Contact, or even Sign, the bigger version. So we have spent so many years on optimizing the CPU of that sampler. So that is what our sampler is really good at.
All right.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, then I was just wondering, how is the license stored? What are the storage options?
Eric, take it away.
You mean for Elias 4?
Yeah. Is it just on one computer, or is it iLock capable, or?
So traditionally with these game audio middlewares, you license them per project, per game. So you pay a lot of money for one game. But our ID that we are doing currently is that it's a subscription, and then it's per user. So per seat, basically. And then you can have your license and do whatever with it. You can release as many games as you would like to, and you can experiment with it however you want to.
But is it one on one computer only, or can I move it around?
Yeah, you can have it on all the computers in the world, as long as it's you that is using it.
Okay, so it's kind of a log on activation thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
and it's when we move to this is important to say. I think it's a very easy. It's not Fort Knox quality of the check, but it will be. So it's not a good idea to just use it, the whole family and the friends on the same license, because at one point it won't be possible. So it will be connected to you.
I was just concerned about me being able to take it with me wherever I happen to be.
Yeah, that's you're definitely gonna be able to do that, or you're able to do that. Yeah, it's connected to you as a person. So yeah,
great.
Yep.
Please don't do iLock though.
No, never.
We're building our own version of the iLock. No.
Just another dongle, like you're filling up my computer here.
No, but I mean, from our perspective, I mean, we wouldn't want to have any licensing. It's like we want it as simple as possible. So we're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible, and we're gonna have to find some way of like offline verification as well, because there's a lot of game studios that have like really weird firewalls and stuff. So there are gonna be really simple options to get it running as well.
Yeah, I'll fax you and you'll fax me back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eric?
When it came to the multiple people can use it, have you thought about using a source control with Elias?
Yep.
Or is it integrated, or do you have to use it with the game engine, or is it externally?
This is it's external, so you can have it on your own source control. Okay. And currently we don't. We've had it in like an internal version. We had like a Perforce integration within Elias. It's not in the public version yet. But the beauty of our file format being completely open and text-based, basically, it's JSON files. It's quite easy to merge stuff and resolve conflicts if you have them. But also the project format is built in a way so that if you just work in separate ends of the project, you will be able to work at the same time.
Okay.
But you can, of course, break stuff and create merge conflicts. But the reason why, part of the reason why it's built like that is that it opens up for really collaborative systems, like almost Google Docs style, having people working on the same project file at the same time. But currently, since the format is so open, it works really good with source control. And as long as if you're multiple people working on the same project, you can just say, I'm gonna edit these files, don't touch them. And you can work on the same project at the same time.
Okay, so live working with together, not just like, can you see other people's action live, or do you see it after they pushed it up?
Yeah, you would have to push it. So
Okay, so
yeah,
per push.
Yeah, but it should be able to merge nicely, since there's no like big binaries and stuff like that with data. It's only the audio data that are binaries.
Okay.
Theo?
Yeah, now on another side of things here, but still on the licensing side, but and Greg might be thinking about the same question. But when it comes to education licenses, do you have anything or any plans in terms of that? If you want to get it for a full class, for example, for them to learn it, do you have a system in place for that so far?
With Elias 3, we had a system for a school, like getting a bunch of licenses, and we haven't really decided the details on what that should be, because that format was, I think, also created a bunch of years ago, so things might have changed on the school side. So I think actually you, Theo, would be a good person to talk about like what would be a good solution for you guys.
I was just going to say that we have a lot of schools over the years, but we decided that we want to, the first school that uses Elias 4, we will discuss with that school and see what works best and go from there.
Yeah, because we're not like, we're interested in people learning our system, so we don't want to make money of schools in that sense. We just kind of want to cover the costs and maybe open for the possibility to give some additional support and stuff like that.
Yeah. Many times we start with in 2 weeks, I think, or something, I'm going to go to school to start with a class first, and they meet us and so on. That's a good way to do it, rather than just giving the software and have licensing and then questions comes up, and it's better to have a face-to-face meet first.
Yeah, and there is also a free demo. So if you go to our webpage, you can create an account and download the demo for free.
That's super helpful. I think, I think in most schools that they would be very happy to also host workshops like this, where you can actually showcase most of the stuff. So, yeah. Well, Greg can speak for Nuid. I can definitely say that from Cristiano's side for sure as well. But yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. And you know, the thing is that we really 3 or 4 competent students out of any given class, right? Unless it's an audio only curriculum. But in a general games curriculum, you're only going to get 3 or 4 people in a class that are really, really into sound. So yeah, that's kind of where my question was leading. Thanks, Theo, for picking.
Oliver?
Yeah. Regarding like source control and stuff, you said most of these like patches is like the interface is mostly like JSON.
Yeah.
How can I see like the JSON structure, and like is it easily accessible to me, like if I want to change stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like see like where the I mean, I guess I can see where the conflict is in source control, but like let's say I'm in that situation where like there is a conflict, like what does the process look like to like fix the issues?
I actually don't have a good answer.
Yeah, fair enough.
I could connect you to someone that is more technically endeavored, but I've asked that question to our CTO, and he said, "Yeah, you can solve it," but of course, it's not going to be super easy, but it's doable since it's a JSON.
Yeah, but so but like is there a JSON file just stored concurrently with the project files?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So everything becomes like a JSON. So basically, the project file is a folder structure with JSON files.
Okay, gotcha.
Which also, of course, opens up for even more fiddling with stuff in real time.
Any other questions?
Eric.
I'm always curious about audio programming, but you said that you have integrated within Unity and Unreal. Do you want to expand to other game engines? Have you had any plans on expanding it to Godot or OpenGL or anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
We can answer it, both of us.
Yeah.
Yes and no. It would be lovely to only work with one game engine. So, like I think our approach at the moment is Unity and Unreal, and then we, of course, if we have clients asking for something specific that there are like a real project going on, we can look into it. And from my perspective, Godot is super interesting.
Yes.
But it escalates quite quickly when you want to support a new game engine and you want to support all consoles and all platforms and stuff like that. So we are looking into how to do that because the system is built with that in mind to support everything. It's just that it's hard to keep it up to date if there are too few clients. So that might be like a community thing as well, especially with something like Godot. So just we can build a foundation and then open source that plugin.
And actually, we normally we could say, yeah, we support 3 engines. It's just as one engine got cancelled really abrupt a couple of months ago. That was called our machinery. So that was sad.
And Elias 3 has been running on, I don't know, maybe 10 engines because it's been used on a lot of proprietary like AAA engines as well.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my question about that. Yeah, I'll just listen to others people talk and come back with more questions afterwards.
Cool.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah, Frederick.
Yeah. I was just wondering about you showed the bleed from the ambience. You made like a chamber and it bled out. So how is that? How can you like make the bleed have its own like what do you say? Could that have different sound? I mean, because once it reaches the wall of this room, let's say it's a party and there's this music inside. You want it to sound like low pass and bassy outside, right?
Yeah.
So you can say something like, okay, outside or in the bleed zone.
Yep.
You apply a low pass filter and a volume reduction the further you get away and such things like that, or
I'm actually not sure at the moment. I think at the moment it's low pass and amplitude that is affected, and you can set it. Yeah, so you can set the end amplitude, like what it should play at that point. But we're also looking into the occlusion stuff to have those those things as well. Yeah, you have the occlusion filtering. Sorry, so you can set the end frequency and the end volume. So you can have it both low pass and change the volume as you move further away. But then, of course, we also have, like within the engine, we have the data of where you are positioned within this area. So we should at some point you should be able to like pull that value into one of your patches and do whatever, like connect it to your chorus or your space echo.
Okay, cool.
Eric.
When it came to what Fredrik asked about the reverberance and occlusion, I thought about, do you have anything that is impulse response?
Yeah,
That
the
shows-
reverb is impulse response.
Yeah, so you can change what kind of impulses it has depending, or you can make your own pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
You load your impulse file into it.
Okay.
And once again, in our internal versions, one of our programmers actually built. It's called a Firi filter, which is actually like a convolution engine, so you can do whatever you want to with an impulse file.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot of fun stuff.
Sorry if I was interrupting. The second thing I wondered was when you use the gun to shoot and the bouncing began to decrease, is it also a impact decreasing? Like if you shoot it and it notices that, oh, it's going to hit the floor again, is it going to be less impactful, less
but basically this is just like based on the test projects you get with Unreal, and that gun it has prepared so you can check the velocity when it bounces, and the velocity of the ball equals like how hard the impact is. So that is what I'm passing on into Elias, like what speed was it traveling at when it impacted.
Math. Damn.
Math.
Yeah, those were my questions at the very least.
Cool.
All right, I actually have two questions. Let me see. Number one is you're working with Unreal 4. Yeah, is Elias also working with Unreal 5 at this point or not yet?
Yes, it's just that I haven't installed Unreal 5 yet. But actually, on our I think we have 3 clients that are using it with Unreal 5 at the moment.
Cool. And question number 2 is regarding voices, because I know that previously and mostly lots of audio system, mostly native, the more sounds you play, like let's say you create a system with multiple sounds playing at once to create like an ambience or something, you are summing up all of those sounds as separate voices, right? And I know with the new meta sounds in Unreal 5, it actually will sum them up. So you actually have one voice per meta sound, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how this system works for Elias on that.
I actually don't know, but you can set the polyphony of the patches. So how many voices are allowed? I don't have a good answer about that, but I can pass it along to the to the dev team, because voice limiting is also, of course, something that is very interesting and that is quite boring in Wise. It's very technical and quite simplified. with a node graph system, you would be able to like do it in a more fun way as well, and smarter. So
that should also be part of profiling, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. That was it. Thanks.
So as you hear, we have a roadmap, and we have some really big updates coming.
Yeah, I think my end looks very promising. I think it's pretty cool, and I've seen how much it has grown because I've tested all the versions since the beginning, and I think it's been growing like crazy. And when it came out, I remember it was at GDC was when I met you guys through Dale, and I think that it was already amazing to see how much Elias could do that the other middlewares could do in this music system, and that you're already looking at MIDI as a thing that was coming, and it was like, oh wow, MIDI and side middleware. That was pretty mind-blowing then. So I think yeah, we're in a pretty cool state now.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as a company, we've grown and matured as well. I mean, not long ago there were 2 programmers. Now there are, I think we are 6 programmers plus some freelancers. So we are picking up some speed as well on the development end.
Yes.
Yeah, programmers are hard to find.
They are.
What?
I volunteer as tribute.
That's awesome. So it's really hard to find senior C and C++ programmers that can handle this kind of application because it runs so deep. It's almost like building a game engine. You go all the way down from like the deep hardware stuff all the way up to fancy UI. So we kind of cover, yeah, it's deep.
And with good knowledge of audio and acoustics too, right? So
yeah,
must be pretty niche, hard to find for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
I volunteer as tribute.
Send us an email, Eric, and we'll have a look.
I sent Chris a message on Discord.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. Yeah, but maybe that's it.
No more questions? Anybody?
I mean, it would be great to have a one-on-one talk with Chris and Eric about internship possibilities later. But right now, no, I don't have any.
All right.
Well,
Great.
we hope Eric is coming to the conference. So,
Yes.
and I believe most of you have your tickets. So if you don't, make sure you get them. Yeah, it's coming up fast. It's in less than a month. So
Yeah.
we're excited to having them there.
And be sure to use your coupons as well, for the software.
Yes, it's a good reminder. As game members, you have that benefit. So make sure you get that, because I guess our deadline was today, right? I'm not sure if it still is. So
I missed that one.
I think I can make it longer.
Cool.
So
yeah, Greg, if anything, just ask me and I'll resend it to you. But you should be able to have you should have gotten an email with the details on that coupon for getting Elias.
Thank you.
Great. And I'll just drop my email in the chat. So if you have any follow-up questions or want to talk to one of the devs or whatever, or if you want to meet up during the conference, just shoot me an email.
Perfect.
Great. It was great to meet you all.
Yes.
Sure. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you all in less than a month.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a great presentation and workshop. Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye.